The United Nations organizations denounce that the Israeli occupation army is killing at least one child a day in Lebanon as part of its aggressions against the country. In Sudan, more than 130 women commit suicide in a single day for the fear of being sexually abused by warring military groups in the nation's civil war. In Argentina, after Wednesday's strike, unions have claimed the protests have just begun and they remain on the warpath against the government of President Javier Milei. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the TeleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. The United Nations organizations denounced that the Israeli occupation army is killing at least one child a day in Lebanon as part of its aggressions against the country. The occupying troops launched at least 11 airstrikes against residential areas in the Lebanese city of Yomr al-Shavi, where dozens of houses were destroyed. At the same time, Israeli warplanes bombed the town of Baalbek and issued an evacuation alert due to the nearby populations in order to advance in their incursion into the territory. On Thursday, the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, was the target of over 30 attacks, most of them coming from the Israeli occupying forces. UNIFIL's spokesperson, Andrea Tinelli, stated added that at least 7 of the Hamas's actions perpetrated by Israel were deliberated. The Israeli aggressions have not only targeted cameras, equipment, or the watchtowers of the UNIFIL, but also some of their members have been wounded. The UNIFIL has been deployed there since Israel's invaded the country in 1978, and nowadays UNIFIL members are concerned over both the Israeli actions and those of the Hezbollah's resistance movement, as their lives are at stake. In Palestine, more than 77 people were killed and dozens are still missing after an Israeli bombardment of a building in the northern Gaza Strip. Likewise, more than 300 people were sheltering in the Beit el-Layal area, including families from the Jabalia refugee camp. Several victims are still under the rubble due to the constant aggressions of the Israeli regime. The Ministry of Health reported that since October 7, 2023, the Israeli occupation forces have been killing more than 34,000 people and wounded at least 101,000 more, most of them children and women. The first meeting of the Global Alliance for the Creation of the Palestinian State and the End of the Israel Occupation of the Territories was held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Wednesday. The meeting, considered as decisive steps for the Palestinian State, is part of the agreement reached at the United Nations General Assembly in September. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas thanked King Salman bin Abdulaziz and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for their leadership. The Palestinian leaders emphasized the need to implement the UN resolution on the Inter-American Court of Justice within the specific time frame, as well as the implementation of Security Council Resolution 2735 on a ceasefire and the delivery of humanitarian aid in Gaza.
Have about half its current population, perhaps much less. And
international investments, most of the investments
China rejected the trade restrictions imposed by the U.S. and the European Commission's decision to impose additional fees on electric vehicle manufacturing in the country. According to the Ministry of Commerce, the measures target sectors such as chips, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing. In a statement, Beijing denounced that most of the industries related to these fields are not connected to the national security. However, all of them will be affected, which will disrupt normal economic and trade cooperation between the two countries' enterprises. Beijing also rejected the European Commission's decision to impose additional fees on electric vehicles manufactured in the Asian giant.
The U.S. has withdrawn from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. developed Typhoon mid-range missile system and used it as a tool to maintain its hegemony. It has made willful deployment and stirred up troubles, which increased the risk of war in the region. It has been proven time and again that the U.S. is a real saboteur to peace and a troublemaker.
In addition, the Chinese spokesman stated that the Liberation Army will prepare for combat and increase its military capability to fight, win, and safeguard its national sovereignty and territorial integrity.
The Taiwan issue is at the very core of China's core interests, and the first red line that must not be crossed in China-U.S. relations. China urges the U.S. to fully recognize the severe consequences of arming Taiwan, which would surely backfire, and not to go further down the wrong path. Several pieces of U.S. weaponry will not close the cross-strait military power gap, still less stop the historical trend of China's reunification. The People's Liberation Army will continually improve its combat readiness, comprehensively enhance the military capability to fight and win, and firmly safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity.
The Russian Defense Ministry reported that 21 Ukrainian missiles drones have been intercepted in 6 regions and the Black Sea south of the nation. The anti-aircraft forces stopped Kiev's new attempt to commit terrorist attacks with unarmed aerial vehicles on the Russian facilities. In this regard, the Defense Ministry recalled that both the United Kingdom and the Netherlands promised to finance the purchase of drones for the Ukraine, thus leaving confirmation of their interest in taking part in the strike against civilians in Russia. We are going to take a short break, but first, we invite you to follow our special segment dedicated to the upcoming U.S. elections. Only on TeleSUR today at 19:30 Quito time, 20:30 Caracas and New York and Havana time. So we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Belarus, President Alexander Lukashenko stressed the need to promote discussions on the global conflict and develop measures to overthrow modern challenges and threats. During the Minsk International Conference on Eurasian Security, the Belarusian president warned about the world's tendency towards militarization. In addition, Lukashenko stressed that a lack of control and balance has led to the weakening of regional and global security. At the event, which brings together close to 600 delegations from more than 40 countries, the Belarusian head of state advocated for unconditional dialogues as an instrument for the resolution of current conflicts.
Do we need this in Europe? We don't. Neither Russia, nor Ukraine, nor we, nor you, the Eurasian continent. We don't need it, but the danger is great. That's why, today, before presenting any idea from one side or the other, as they say, a victory plan or anything else, maybe even nonsense, we have to sit down at the negotiating table without preconditions.
President Lukashenko also urged the United States to withdraw its nuclear weapons from the Eurasian region in order to calm hostilities.
In order to really calm the situation and create conditions for dialogue, it is necessary to remove the U.S. nuclear weapons from the territory of the Eurasian countries. This lethal arsenal is an anachronism of the Cold War era. So we will not stand on the sidelines. I am responding to those who today are concerned about the fact that we have tactical nuclear weapons deployed on the territory of Belarus.
In Sudan, more than 130 women commit suicide in a single day for fear of being sexually abused by military groups in the nation's civil war. The news came to light recently after the publication on social network and has given way to a wave of denunciations comparable to the increase in sexual crimes. Hala Al-Karib, Regional Director of the Strategic Initiative for Women of the Horn of Africa, confirmed that the report about the denunciations are absolutely true. Karib confirmed that since the first date of the world, women have been subject to brutal abuses, and notes that in this conflict, the main victims of the paramilitary forces are girls and women between 17 and 35 years of age. In Indonesia, at least 7 people were killed and thousands injured after a bridge collapsed at a pier on Banda Island during a campaign rally. The construction collapsed due to overcapacity as a multiple people lined two coastal cement piers to welcome a ship carrying a local region candidate to the island. In the aftermath, regional authorities identified the deceased and the injured were transferred to the Banda Nira hospital by the speedboat for medical treatment. In Spain, the Coast Guard rescue units recovered a small boat with at least 75 people arriving from the African countries. The maritime rescue indicates that the boat was 7 miles south of the El Hierro Islands and was transferred to the port of La Restinga. Immigrants from African countries continue to use roads that has been labeled by the Spanish government as the most dangerous in the world, traveling in boats through the Canary Islands. In this context, the Spanish authorities revealed that at least 32,000 people have arrived in the country by sea in 2024, which represents a 22% increase from the previous year. In Spain, the death of toll after the flash floods that impact the regions of Valencia and Castilla-La Mancha has risen to 104 people as the search of the missing continues. The floods that were triggered by a weather phenomenon known locally as Dana, Spanish acronym for the highest altitude isolated depression, left many municipalities in Valencia without drinking water and some 75,000 people without electricity supplies. In addition, thousands of cars have been destroyed, roads cut off, and areas isolated by water, mud, and landslides. In this context, the government has mobilized more than 1,200 troops from the Ministry of Defense, the Military Emergency Unit, and the Third Med forces to assist in the rescue and cleanup of the largest number of affected towns. In China, Super Typhoon Conrad made landfall in Taiwan, raising 10 meters a wave and forcing thousands of people to flee their homes. With maximum winds of 184 kilometers per hour, the Conrad hit the east coast of the town of Shandong at 1:04 p.m. local time, the Central Meteorological Administration reported. It had the same strength of Typhoon Gaemi, which has the most powerful storm to hit Taiwan in 8 years, but Conrad's radius of 320 kilometers made it largest in nearly 3 decades. So far, at least 27 people have been injured by the storm, which has caused trees to fall and 4 landslides. Authorities have evacuated 8,600 people from their homes in vulnerable countries and cities. And in Colombia, the president of the Transitional Presidential Council of Haiti, Leslie Voltaire, stated that Haitian biodiversity hasn't been lost on his keynote address at the conference of the party's COP16 on biodiversity in Cali. The authority assured that Haiti is the cradle of historical botany in the Americas, although some media have tried to disseminate an unfavorable image. Notwithstanding, the Haitian biodiversity still retains its full vitality. Leader further asserted that many of Haiti's harness the extensive variety of medical plants for the health needs. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch on interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. But now we will have to invite you to our special program on Tuesday the 5th, November the 5th, for the presidential elections in the United States. One final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The Prime Minister of Haiti, Gary Conil, was summoned to an urgent meeting by the Transitional Presidential Council to fight off the presence of alleged mercenaries in the country. The meeting that was set to happen on a Wednesday afternoon was rescheduled to next week as per the Prime Minister's request. The petition for a gathering between the two government heads comes after several local media reported the alleged presence of mercenaries from a private security company in the capital, Port-au-Prince. In Peru, the health sector demonstrates to demand the government better wage and working conditions. In this regard, with the actions, the Peruvian Medical Federation requests the government of Dina Boluarte finds a solution to the lack of medicines and equipment, in addition to increasing the health budget and approving a bill for the promotion for years of service of health professionals. Furthermore, health authorities demand for a supreme decree to sanction and supervise the restitution of funds obtained directly to the health centers in the region. At the same time, in El Salvador, the Congress approved on Wednesday to send military contingents to Haiti for medical evacuation. The agreement passed with 57 votes of the 60 legislators of the unicameral Congress controlled by the New Ideas Party of President Nayib Bukele authorized the incorporation of the national forces to the multinational security support mission led by Kenya. The director of the legal affairs of the Salvadorian Foreign Minister, Patricia Aguilera, detailed that the agreement is subscribed to protect the condition of the MSS mission in Haiti, among Haiti, El Salvador, and Organizations of American States, OAS, so as the Salvadoran forces will only help to conduct medical evacuation operations. In Argentina, after Wednesday's strike, unions have claimed the protests have just begun and they remain on the warpath against the government of President Javier Milei. The measures carried out this Wednesday has already been baptized as a super strike since they managed to immobilize the whole nation. In this regard, leaders of the National Transportation Board gathered to analyze the scenarios, underlined the high rate of participation, and announced more actions. Leaders of the Truck Drivers Association, pilots, airlines workers, and many other organizations also ratified the strike as only the first step on the ongoing plan of action. In Colombia, the Peace with Nature coalition, which brings together more than 22 countries and 80,000 people to address the global environmental crisis, was officially launched during COP16. The Secretary General of the United Nations Organization, Antonio Guterres, 6 heads of state, 5 foreign ministers, 114 ministers, and more than 80 organizations, among others, attends and participate, witnesses the birth of this coalition, which is the words of the Minister of the Environment of Colombia, Susana Muhammad, is a political declaration of significance to make a change with nature. This initiative addresses the challenges of climate change and highlights the importance of uniting peace and nature.
Building peace means, above all, the transformation of territories historically affected by poverty, violence, and the incidence of illegalized economies. Many of these territories are in environmental ecosystems of great value for Colombia and the world.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. TeleSUR English and from the south, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.